Caramel slice is just beautiful, and it's really, really simple to make. And come along with this journey with me and bring the kids into the kitchen, because this is totally kid friendly. And when you have chocolate and caramel together, it creates just glory. So the really sweetness of the caramel and the silkiness and luxurious of chocolate coming together is just the bomb, in my opinion. So follow me through this recipe, get everything ready and get started, and let's take you through on a journey of how to make this that's really freezer friendly and organ friendly. So what I mean by that is that it is completely something that's bioavailable to the body, which is just gorgeous. I love the idea of using pecans. I think pecans are especially delicious in this really cool slice. And I love the idea of roasting pecans. I think that's kind of cool. Now, if you're not a fan of roasting nuts, don't get too hung up about it. You can buy activated nuts, which are normally soaked in salty water or plain water, and they're dehydrated, and they have that same like roasting texture to them, which is really cool. So my oven is on at about 160. So nothing really higher than that. It's really important with nuts because you don't want to make them typically very, very brown. You want to just extract some of the oils and then put them out to cool, and that's how they get nice and crunchy. So I'm just going to put some nuts on a lined tray with some baking paper and straight into the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'm going to check them. Now while this is happening, we're going to get straight to the other part of this base, which is awesome. So these are done, these are beautiful. Now they're still a bit warm, so what you need to do at home is allow them to cool. It's really important because when they cool, they get crunchy and have this really, really gorgeous texture that comes to them. So just allow them to cool a bit and then add everything into here. So what we need to do now is add the rest of our base mix while these are getting nice and cool. So we need some gorgeous coconut. Now you can use shredded coconut, desiccated coconut, but what you're really after is something unbleached. Unbleached coconut, which is really important, and undeodorized. So what that means is it's just pure coconut. So read the packets at home, especially when you look for something organic or something like that. You want to be really mindful of what you're buying. So reading the packets is awesome. I need some vanilla. Vanilla's going to add that real caramelly flavor to this. I know it's quite strange, but vanilla actually brings out some flavor in coconut and with these beautiful nuts. It's really quite cool. So just a splash of this. Just follow your recipe on the PDF below. As you know, I'm just kind of winging it here because I'm used to making this slice, which is awesome. Bit of cinnamon, which is really great. So I've got a whole lot of cinnamon over here, which is just exquisite. It just breaks off naturally. And what's cool about this, and this is what you can do at home, is you can buy your cinnamon whole, and you normally get them about this size in a little jar. What I do with them, I put them into my blender and blend them, and then put them in here. And all the chunky bits that are in the bottom here can't come through because it's this fine, beautiful powder. It's really quite exquisite, really beautiful, yummy. Good tip, instead of buying dusty pre-powdered cinnamon, because there's actually not much flavor. And I find cooking over the years, I find buying ground spices are really kind of like sawdust, and they don't have that full punch of flavor coming through. So when you grind your own spices, you get that deliciousness coming through. So I've got some coconut, some cinnamon, some vanilla. I want a pinch of salt, definitely. Now I want to have some psyllium, and what psyllium husk is going to do, they're just going to absorb some flavor, absorb some moisture, not flavor. And that means that any kind of moisture that's in here, it's going to bind this together. And this is a great binder. It's a real awesome binder, this one, because we're going to add a little bit of water to this. Now I'm going to need to stick this together. Now there's a couple of things you can do when you are playing around with bases like this. You can use any dry fruit you like at home. Anything. You could use prunes, you could use apricots, you could use sultanas and currants, figs. I'm going to use dates, and I'm using these dried dates, which are really quite beautiful. They're very different to the medjool dates. I love them. I think they're great. They're like candy when you put them in the fridge. They're quite awesome. So just take the seeds out of them. So this is cooling down really nicely as I'm doing this. De-pitting your dates, everyone, which is really important. Okay, dates are in. Awesome. Alright. Nuts are nice and cooled down, which is cool. Look at that. Crunchy. Oh, yummy. yummy texture to them. Yay, this is awesome. Now we're going to have a little bit of water in this, just to bind it all together. Because the only wetness, if you'd like to call it, the moisture is in the dates. So that little bit of water will just come together beautifully. So, food processor, just on the button. Now I want this to get really, really sticky. And how you're going to do that is just by running your food processor and just watching what happens. And you might have to add a little bit more water if you need to. But just watch this and how this comes together. Okay, let's have a look at this. Now this is quite dry. Look at that. We want it a lot more stickier than that. So I'm just going to add a little bit more water to this. And I can smell that vanilla coming through, which is cool. It's really starting to smell a lot like caramel. Oh yes, here we go. This is what we're after, this sticky feeling. And at this point, it's really important to taste. And this is when you add a little bit more salt. You want the salt to bring out the flavour, but you don't want it too salty. Really important to remember that. So tasting as you go. When I'm teaching, I always tell people to taste in the beginning and the middle and the end. And that way you have control. Your senses. All right, let's have a look. Great, that's what we're after, that real sticky texture. So just grab a slice tin. Get some of this unbleached baking paper. It's really awesome. It's a natural baking paper. In other words, it's not bleached, which is it's kind of cool. You can get these in health food stores. I've seen them in specialty stores, and they're about $1 more than your average baking paper. So something to look at, unbleached baking paper. I'm very rough, as you can see. Okay, let's have a smell. It smells beautiful. Now notice how I'm just tipping it in there. I haven't got the paper perfect, okay? It's really important for us at home to remember that. This is just, we're at home together, we're cooking, there's no stress here. Now what I'm doing, instead of pressing straight away, I'm just evening this crumb out. So just making it completely even and a surface area that's covered. And now I'm going to push down. Now when you push down a slice, it's always really great to use the pads of your fingers. Really, really great. Instead of pushing in, because you make holes, always use the pads. And I always start from the middle and I go to the outside and just push down. The smell of the pecans are just beautiful. And like I said, you don't have to roast your pecans. You can get activated pecans, which are really quite crunchy and have that roasting flavour, which is kind of cool. And not forgetting, don't ever forget this, but salt is the building blocks of flavour, whether it's sweet or savoury. It's really important. Okay, get this as even as possible. Now with some of the paper here, I like to just put that across there like that. Just to push down, gets it really, really even. Okay, that even surface. Ta-da! Into the fridge, and then onto our caramel. Our base is setting beautifully. I just want to quickly show you what it looks like so you can get an idea of what I mean by setting. It's actually quite hard, just in that short amount of time in the fridge. And we're going to put our caramel onto that, and it's going to be exquisite. And this is a really simple caramel recipe. You're going to love this. This is really, really easy. Measuring cups are good. Actually, measuring anything when it comes to desserts is good. It's something you want to remember. It's something that I have to remember with myself, because when you're combining different fats together, things split. So sticking to the recipe and measuring things is really important. Okay, I'll show you a little trick actually. Something I did a while ago by accident. It's kind of really awesome. So first of all, I'm going to use my blender to make this beautiful almond caramel sauce, I need a cup of coconut oil. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to add that to my blender. And there's still oil in this cup, which is really cool, because what's going to happen is I'm not going to have the trouble of getting this out of the cup because it's going to be nice and slippery. So I need half a cup of this. And it just comes out. Check that out like that. That was a great mistake I made years ago. I need some maple syrup. You can use honey if you like, but I love the idea of maple syrup and almonds coming together. I think it's quite delicious. Okay. And once again, check out that from the coconut oil. Kind of makes me smile when I do that. I need vanilla. Vanilla's going to really bring this to the caramel town that we really recognize and love. There's a vanilla will bring that out. Now, different types of vanilla from different countries are different levels of flavor. So this is an extract, a vanilla extract, and I use that in the base as well. You can use seeds if you like. And then I want a little bit of salt just to pull out flavor. And I'm just going to blend this. This really shiny, silky caramel flavour that smells just delightful. This is what's going to go on our base. This is very exciting. I get to share this with you. So you're just going to pour this on. Look at that. It's lovely. Shiny, silky texture. It's quite amazing. Just want to get all that out with a spatula. Yum. Now you can pop this in the freezer to make this a really quick acting setting slice, or you can just pop it in the freezer, in the fridge, sorry, and take your time. So I'm going to put this in the fridge. And I'm going to wait for that top to be completely hard before I add my chocolate to it. Now let's get on to our chocolate, which is really cool. So what I've got over here is a pot of boiling water. And it's been boiling for a while, and I've got a glass bowl that actually can handle heat. So it's boiling away. I'm going to turn this completely off. And this is what you're going to have to remember when you're at home, because a lot of people, when they melt cacao, what they do is they boil the cacao, which is crazy, right? So you want to actually turn that heat off. So bring the water up to the boil and then completely turn it off and have it sit there. Okay, and then I'm going to put our cacao butter in. This is awesome. This is not chocolate, just so you know. It's the fat of the chocolate. I'm going to go through that later. So remember, this is really, really hot, and to melt this really quickly, you're just going to grab a knife and you're just going to shave, and see how that's just shaving, and just do this really slowly. Put your knife in, have your hand on the knife and just press, and you're getting these shaved pieces of cacao butter. Okay. The whole place is going to smell like chocolate. And then you're going to add this glory to this bowl. Now we're not going to need to put this back on the heat, because the residual heat of this is just going to melt everything. Remember that. It's a really great tip. A lot of people, I watch them making chocolate, and they always ask me, oh, it's split. Something happened to my chocolate. That's because you're heating the actual butter up so high that it does something to the little crystals in there. So just be really mindful of that. So I'm going to set this aside and let this melt. Maybe it's going to take, it's already melting now, maybe about a minute, maybe 2 minutes, and then I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients. I've been stirring this for about 30 seconds. Check it out. It's this liquid gold. Look at it. It's so cool. And it smells like chocolate, even though it isn't quite yet, because it's the butter out of the actual bean, but it actually smells like chocolate. It's awesome. Have a look. I'm nearly done. It's been about a minute and 10 seconds. I'm going to say 10 because it's kind of random. But check it out. Remember this is a really good tip for you guys at home. Do not boil the cacao butter. Always take it off the heat, and look at that. Ta-da! Okay, so the next thing, this is a really important tip to remember. We don't want any water in here, so really be mindful of this. And this is hot as well, so you need a tea towel, and you just want to grab this and take that off. Try not to get your tea towel in the butter. And then move this out of the way. So I'm just worried about the water content on there, so I'm just wiping that out. Even though it's on the outside, it's still, if that gets in there, our chocolate splits for some strange reason. Okay, so I need cacao powder and I need sweetener, and that's it for the base, which is awesome. Yeah. These two coming together really are the essence of chocolate. So you're going to need a whisk to whisk this. Then we're going to need our sweetener, which is some beautiful, what is it, some maple syrup. And we're going to combine these all together, which is awesome. I'm using that same jar, sorry, that same cup, and all that stuff is coming just out slippery, you know. It's awesome. So I'm not like trying to get it out. And we're going to need some cacao. Now when you're making chocolate, remember you've got to measure. I've made so many mistakes in the past of not measuring, so really important to measure. Hi new whisk. Whisk all the lumps out. Have a taste. Perfect. You're done. That's it. Just like that. Really simple, really easy chocolate topping. We're going to check on our slice to see if it's ready. And if it's ready, we're going to pour this on top and then we're going to set it again. Look how beautiful this is. Now my caramel slice is not quite set. Okay, so I've just popped it in the freezer for a minute, because we want to hurry things along, you know. But look how silky and muddy this is. This is so easy to make. And one of the great things about this caramel slice that I love is that when you're feeling like something sweet, this is a perfect time to make something like this, and then cut it up into really small pieces and pop it in a Ziploc bag in the freezer, and put your little name on it and a date on it. And when you feel like something sweet, just reach for that small piece of caramel slice, and it just satiates you and you're getting that feeling, right? And this is what the whole point of creating this series for you guys at home is, that you get to celebrate your sweet tooth naturally with me and with your organs, which is really awesome. This is what's going to happen throughout this series. We're going to be making things that's going to time lapse for you guys, and you're going to go, wow, that was really quick. Things do have time, make time to set. So ours is setting right now. It's been about 10 minutes, and it's probably going to take another 2 to 5 minutes to completely set. So I've taken it from the fridge to the freezer just to hurry things along again. So this is important for you guys to remember at home. Easy recipes, the setting time is the time that takes. Yummy, yummy, yummy! Now you can put salt in this if you want to. Mate, would you get me the caramel slice out of the freezer, honey? Thank you, mate. And we'll see if that's set. This is just beautiful, silky divineness. Yeah, it's a little bit rocky in the middle, but it doesn't matter. Things like that don't matter to me because I don't mind the chocolate seeping through the caramel, which is awesome. So, look at that. Just set. Okay, it's a bit soft here, which is fine. It just doesn't matter. So when you pour this on, I'm just going to pour it straight on like this. Yummy. I'm not even going to scrape that bowl out because we're going to lick that bowl. And then you just want to roll it around so it just gets to there. Yum. Covered up. Caramel. Glory. And straight back in the freezer. Okay, set this again until it's completely hard, so another maybe 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes, and it'll be completely set. Here you go, Mate. Mate's my little hands of glory. There you go, honey. Thank you. So nice and even in the freezer, which is awesome. Okay, I'm gonna clean up my mess. We'll be back in a minute and we'll cut this up and we'll eat it. The caramel slice is ready. Drum roll! Mate, if you could please pass me that glory from the freezer, which is awesome. Thanks, honey. So this is set. This has taken about, I reckon, look, we jumped in a few things here, so I reckon about 8 minutes to set this. It's quite hard, look at that, as you can see, which is awesome. We've got those layers that we want. Now check that out. That is just glorious. This is the most organ-serving caramel slice that you'll ever have in your entire life. Really super special. Now, the trick to cutting this without making the chocolate crack. A lot of people text me and go, hey chef, I cut the caramel slice but my chocolate kept cracking. This is what you do. This is a chef's tip for you at home. I've got some boiling hot water here onto a tray on a knife. So you just need to be very mindful, okay, of how you handle this. I've obviously, look at this steam. I'm obviously used to it, but you'd be very mindful at home. I've got a tea towel here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hot knife and run it through my tea towel, and then I'm just going to actually just sit my knife and it's just going to melt into that chocolate. And that's how you get chocolate that doesn't crack. It's awesome, I know. It's just slowly melting through, and then I'm going to wipe my knife again and I'm going to cut like that. How beautiful is that? Look at that. Look at that. Check out that. That's what we want. I don't know why I'm whispering. It's awesome. Look at me. I'm not even pushing down or cutting. I'm just allowing that knife just to melt that layer of chocolate. And I'm just going to wipe that on my tea towel. Or you could have a paper towel, but just have everything with you so you're not stressed, yeah? And don't forget to breathe. Remember that one. And then I'm just going to cut through the base. And we have that glory. Look at that. It's very exciting. Yum. So the trick here is when you make something like this at home, and remember this, we're not going to eat a piece that big. That's just ridiculous. This is whole real food, as close to nature intended it to be, with low human interference. And the bioavailability to the body is quite extraordinary. So you're going to have little tiny pieces in the freezer like this. And when you're feeling hungry and almost satiating feeling of wanting something quite delicious with caramel and chocolate, you're going to grab this out of the freezer. And this is going to give you that opportunity to nourish yourself and not feel guilty. Remember that. This is beauty from the inside out. I'm so honoured to show you this today, and I'm so grateful that we all get to eat this together and have this in our freezers. Tyler Tolman's here, just on my gungun, on my, which is awesome. And one of the great things about having a health revolutionist around me is that I get to really show up to the same conversations that we have together, and that's all about organs. And this is going to serve you. Have fun with this. Remember, you get about 50 slices of this out of this particular slice, all in the freezer. Put it into a beautiful Ziploc bag. Write on the bag the date and the name. And every time you feel like something sweet, go there. Enjoy.
Just sitting here in my kitchen, thinking about that beautiful pineapple curry that's simmering away, and the sweetness of the pineapple coming through, and the spices, and the delicateness of how a dish can come together at the end. You know, we have such a history in cooking, and how we've pointed the finger at different ingredients over the years, and then we've celebrated some on the other hand. And as we dance and journey into, you know, standing in our kitchens and being really proud of what we've done, and being really in a moment of gratitude that we get to cook, but we also get to spend time with ingredients that are so humble and so real and extremely accessible. And I think that's just a beautiful place to start when you're, you know, jumping into this space alongside me, and you're just wondering in your voice, in your head, you know, can I do this? Am I able to do it like she does it? And you're never going to. That's the point. And one of the greatest things I've learned being a mum and being a human and being a chef is one day I make a dish and it's spectacular. And then the other day I make the same dish, the same ingredients, same recipe, same method, and it's just crap. And it's really interesting. And I go back internally and go, where was I? Where was I in that moment when I was creating that dish? And I can tell you right now, I was in either an upset or a stressful moment or a pushed moment or a moment of I need to cook, because I need to feed my family, or I need to cook because I need to feed myself. And you kind of go, and then you start the cooking process and it doesn't come out like it did that day when everybody sat around the table and it was like, oh my God, you're an amazing cook, Mum. You've done it. Or you're an amazing cook, Dad. You've done such a great job. So checking yourself every time before you turn on that stove or you pick up that knife or you remove that vegetable out of the fridge, and giving yourself a moment. And what I do is I just sit on the couch and have a breath and go, I just don't want to cook today. It's okay. And then when I have the moments of I can't wait to cook, that's when the dish becomes brilliant.